my name is Brittany with North Star Acres, and today I'm going to share some data keeping advice to you as to how we keep records for our flock for our farm. So it's kind of a question that we've received in the past is what type of records should I keep and how do I keep them? So what we like to do for our flock, which we manage about 30 ewes in our flock, is we like to use Google Sheets. So if you already have a Google account set up, you can go straight into your options to create a new sheet, and it would look something like this. So in this spreadsheet, the first thing that you can do is change the title. So highlight your title. I'm just going to call it Sheep Record Book. The next thing that you can do is change the tab name for the sheet. So this is one of the reasons why I like Google Sheets, is because I can put all of my tabs down here on the bottom. So if you see this little plus sign, you can keep adding sheets to it. So maybe I wanted one sheet for information about my ewes, maybe I wanted another sheet for information about my lambs, but all of that data is still in one place, and it's enlarged so I can see everything at one time. And to me, it's just easier. So for my first sheet, what I'm going to show you guys is just basic information that we typically keep on our ewes. So I'm going to rename this and just call it sheep. This would be the information that we keep just on our breeding stock. So again, I would have a separate one for all of our lambs information, but I'm going to throw in some headers here. So this is the information that we're going to keep on a normal basis. So the name / tag number, I try to keep both. Not everything gets a name, but if you hang around on the farm long enough, you end up with some kind of a name. So we're going to have the name or tag number, the scrapie number of the farm where it came from. Since these are all club sheep, a lot of them are going to come with who their sire or dam sire was, so I try to keep pedigree information. The birth date, maybe not necessarily to the particular day, I don't always know, but I like to at least have the year so that I know when I potentially need to start phasing out some of my ewes to start new ones. I like to keep track of my breeders as to who I'm purchasing from, my breeds. So at one point we were running a couple different breeds. Right now I'm just down to my crossbreds, and I still have one leftover registered hamp from the very beginning of our sheep farm, but mostly we run crossbreds now, but I still keep track of breeds. We've also ran some Dorsets. So anyways, these are all my headers. So all of the information I'm going to keep, obviously you can expand that out to whatever you actually need or want to keep track of. So these are just the basics. These are already in bold, so other things that you can do with your headers, if you just take your mouse and click on that first box and drag it across, you can highlight that whole row. So it was already in bold, so if you didn't want it in bold, you can unbold. I like to bold my headers. To me, it makes them stick out and easier to read. I can also do a fill color. I'll do this a lot with my headers to make them easier to read. So maybe I don't know, just make them yellow or something. But now I can fill out my information, so I'm not going to do this for all of my sheep, but I'll give you guys a couple examples. So maybe name and tag number for, I have Lily. Lily's been around for years. So she is tag number 21190, but then she also has scrapie number OH77146. Okay. She is a strictly business. Oops. I don't know her dam. Skip over those two, go out to birth year. Don't know the particular date. I know she's a 2021 ewe. And she was from Adam Family Club Lambs. So shout out to them. We really like their ewes. So Adams was the breeder. She is a crossbred, and I do not have her blood information. I do on some of my club ewes, so that's why I include it. Not necessarily that I fill it out for every single ewe that I have, but if they've come with that information, I do keep track of it. Just throw in a couple other ones here. So maybe I have, let's see, Maggie was a 2212. I'm not going to go through and fill all of this stuff out, but she was an Amstutz ewe. She's a cross. She is also a 2021. She's a bombshell ewe. And then, so Lucky, I threw him in here. He is my breeding ram, actually. So Lucky was, or Lucky's dam was actually Maggie, so I know who that one is. Dam sire then was obviously Bombshell. He was a 2024 breeder. He was ours. Okay, and so on. So 8, 4. There we go. Okay. General information thrown in there. So this, again, is just general information that we keep on all of these guys. To show you a few other things of functions inside of sheets, if for some reason you didn't like what your sheet looked like, so you could highlight all of your cells. You can change the orientation of your information. So right now I have it set on center. That's just my preference. But you can change what side everything is oriented to, or say that you wanted your headers, I don't know, one orientation, and your words and names and stuff another orientation. You could do that, and that's all right here. Something else that you can do with these is expand the widths. So this information just kind of happened to fit nicely within these widths. But let's say like this one's two words. So if I click on that cell and I actually wanted strictly business to be stacked, I can go up in my options, and where it says text wrapping, if I click on that and do wrap text, it doesn't look like it changed anything, but if I were to decrease the size of that cell, then it would allow that text to wrap. And it won't do that unless you have that option selected. Okay. You can always adjust your widths manually just using your slide. So just click between your cells, slide it back and forth. It will also do it automatically for you. So if you had, so let's say with this birthday one, if you just wave your mouse between F and G and double click, it'll adjust it manually too. All right. Something else that I always do on this particular sheet is any of them that I sell. So let's say we sold Lily. So I would highlight all of her information, and I wave my mouse over that first box for that little hand to pop up, and you can click and drag that information somewhere else. And then usually I just stick it on the bottom, highlight it in red to show that I no longer have that U, but I don't just delete the information out of the system, because I might have to go back and reference that later, especially if someone had bought a particular lamb or ram or something off of us. I still want to be able to go back and look at that information. So I moved her down, and then I can either delete this cell, or I could just do the same thing that I did of highlighting and just move it up to get rid of that spot. So that is something else that we do, is keep track of both the ones currently in the flock and then also ones that we have sold. Usually once I move them down here, I'll add an extra header that says something along the lines of like what happened to them, like did they pass away, did they go to this sale barn, did someone buy them. So it might not necessarily be one that I'm not using because something was wrong with it. It might have been a yearling that someone sold, but I still keep track of their information. So that is kind of the basics of their general information that we keep. The other thing that I want to show you is in reference to medications. So the treatment tab is one that I use frequently. So I showed you where this little plus button was, so I'm adding another sheet. You go to sheet 2. If you tap on that, you can rename it. I keep track of my treatments by year. So I would maybe just have 2025 treatments. And then very basically, I have the name and tag number of whoever I gave a treatment to, what the date was, and what the treatment was. Now there's other headers that you can add to this. So like maybe you wanted to add a dosage to it, especially if you had the weight. So like if it was a market lamb and you were constantly taking their weight where it was changing, Obviously, that's not really the case with the U's. They're just kind of a rough estimate, typically. Withdrawal time, what day, or like how many days is that withdrawal time, or when is it out to, just so that you had it. Details about treatment, comments, you could add that all on the end. So these might be all my headers that I would have. Again, I can highlight that information, bold. I prefer center alignment just because. Change my fill color, do green for this one. So I'm going to show you a couple cool things that you can do in Google Sheets to organize this information. So again, let's have Lily, Maggie, Lucky, I know all the L's. We have Reba, we have Laverne, we have a Bianca, so yes, lots of them have names. Lots of them don't, but we have lots of named ones too. So these are the names that I would throw into my treatment record if maybe these were ones that we had treated. Now, something cool that you can do is instead of manually typing in every single thing that you ever have or ever do to them, you can put it into the sheet ahead of time kind of as a function. So if you do insert and then go down to this drop down option and then option 1. So maybe option 1, oops, is you dewormed someone. Option 2, just think of random ones off the top of my head. We gave New Floor, we gave maybe LA 200. I don't even know. I don't know. Oh. So you could do CDT, penicillin. That's not right. Penicillin. Good grief. Okay. So like maybe these are all my options. These are all colored options then. So my colors, I can make each one a different color. Here we go. And then hit done. And it added that function to that cell. And then the corner here, where there's the blue circle, if I click on that and drag it all the way down, it's going to copy that function and clear throughout those cells. And I extend it past just so that I have blank versions ready to fill in for whoever I need it for. So let's say that Lily, I dewormed her. So on, I don't know, 2-1-25. Throw my date in there. 2-1-25, I dewormed Lily and I dewormed Maggie. I can do my drop down and just click which one it was. Now the nice thing with this is say, let's see, just throw in random ones there. Okay, so there's all my options. I can look back at this, and because they are color coded, I can see if there was somewhere that was really, really heavy with one thing to remind myself of something that happened. So like maybe, for example, this past summer, we had issues with hoof rot, and so we had a whole list of sheep that had New Floor, but I was keeping track of it. But I can go back in my records, and all of the color in that one area just reminds me that, hey, something happened in that time. And I can look back at the dates so that the next year, when I get to those dates, I'm already thinking ahead of like, okay, I need to be watching for potentially this to happen again. So this is just something that I utilize because of the color coding. And you can add as many different things in. So and it doesn't even have to be from the beginning. So maybe I did want to add CDT in, so I'm getting close to lambing. I can hit that edit button again, go over here and do add another item, and add in my CDT, give it its own color, and then hit done, apply, and it'll add it in there. So it's just a handy little option. Now, something else that I like to do as well in my treatment records is use it to keep track of when something is supposed to happen. So I am able to go into, this is typically what I do, maybe I have set that I want to deworm on such and such date because we're going to be running them through the handling system. So I have, I'll just make myself like a side note in here and say, okay, December deworming. And I will go back to my sheep tab and I'll highlight every single sheep that I have, which is not many on that one, so I'm actually going to steal it back from this one since we already had a list. And control copy and have my entire flock in this column. And then I can add check boxes to basically check off when I get that task done. So in order to do that, I do insert and checkbox, and again I'll wave my mouse over that corner and drag it down. And then when I actually went through and I dewormed, I would go just click on them and it checks every single one that I did. In this case, to clean this header up, something else that you can do with Google Sheets is you can merge cells. So if I select my one from I and my one from H, if I wanted that header over both, I go up here to merge cells, and then I can change my orientation. I'll put it over both. And just like that. So these are two functions that I use just to kind of make it easier to read my data and keep track of things. Obviously, whatever your case is, you can change it to best meet the needs of your flock, but this is just kind of the basics of some of the things that we do. So in the next video, what I'll show you guys is the tabs that go to my breeding and then my lambing. So I keep different tabs for both of those things. So again, next video, we'll go through all of those details. So thank you for watching, and if you have any questions or need help, putting in any functions or anything, just let me know.